So there's a vibe that Rob and I call the flirty, funny, touchy-feely vibe. And that's the vibe where you know it's on with a woman, whether you're out on a date or you're just sort of talking to her at a party. It's that moment where you're like, it's on. In this video, we're gonna give you 5 techniques, 5 things to say to a woman that gets you to that level of being in that flirty, funny, touchy-feely vibe. That's what we're gonna cover. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio and this is Rob Judge. And we've noticed with our clients that they always come to us and they say, okay, Bobby, okay, Rob, I get that I gotta play the game a little bit. I get that I can't tell her how I feel right away, but how, when I'm actually with her, do I get to that level?
Yeah, and a lot of the times you can inject that tension, that fun, playful vibe verbally. And these can even be lines or templates that, not that you would necessarily memorize like specific lines as if you were like reciting a script, but just to have that baseline in the back of your head, that's gonna do wonders when that girl's in front of you, because we both know it's easy to sit here and theorize on stuff, but when you're actually in a social situation, things happen at like 100 miles per hour. So having these baselines is just incredibly helpful to just keep you moving in the right direction with a woman.
Yeah, and you can use these in all kinds of situations. A lot of times our clients are like, well, I'm hanging out with my ex-girlfriend, and they're logically, they wanna go, how do I address that? What happened? I go, no, create a new vibe. Yeah. Forget everything and create a new vibe. All of these things allow you to forget everything in the past and now introduce that new flirty vibe between you. So the first one that we want to give you is something that we call getting her opinion on something scandalous. And an example of this, actually right before we sat down to record this, I was on TikTok and I was explaining to Rob, I was actually laughing about myself because there's this sort of meme on TikTok where girls are, it's always like 2 girls in a video. And the idea of the video is, he's 6, but he does this. And then her friend will give him a new number, right? So it might be like, he's a 6, but he's got a really sexy arm tattoo. And then the girl might go 8. Or he's an 8, but he wears flip-flops, and the girl's like, oh, 4, and she wrinkled her nose, right? So you take that idea, right? This idea of he's a this, but he does this. And you're talking to a girl on a date and you go, hey, you see those like bunch of videos that are going around TikTok and it's always about, he's a this, like, give me some examples of what would bring a guy up or bring a guy down. And it allows her to go, like, she'll think and she'll come up with something, right? And not only does it get to let you get to know her a little bit more, right? Because now you're getting to know her taste, but it's also sort of this funny, sort of scandalous thing to say. And then you can give examples, right? You can go, you know, she's a 10, and it allows you also to get some of your standards across, but she texts me like goofy pictures every morning, and it's like, it drops her down to a 6, right? Yeah. It allows you to get your standards across, but it's also this sort of funny, scandalous thing to talk about.
Totally, and women love talking about this type of stuff. Yeah, we call it chick crack. Yeah, because it's just one of those things that's why it's trending on TikTok, because women this is the type of conversation that's very, very enjoyable for a woman to engage in. So the next idea is just simply making a bet with a woman. Now, I know this sounds like pretty simple and pretty obvious, but a lot of guys don't do this. And this is especially useful. I know in my own personal life, this is something that worked actually really well with me when I actually worked at a traditional office job where I saw this girl in the break room who I thought was very attractive. And obviously I'm not gonna go in and hit on her as if I saw her at a bar or nightclub, but I just said, oh, hey, let's make a playful bet. We made a bet over playing tic-tac-toe together. And she said, oh, if you win, I'll cook you dinner. And I was like, oh, well. And then all of a sudden I became like the tic-tac-toe supreme master. And I was like very, very carefully considering each tic-tac-toe move. And I ended up winning, and possibly she even just let me win. But it was a very good under the radar way to bridge that gap between, okay, we like each other, but we're in a situation where it's not appropriate for me necessarily to say to her, hey, like, let's grab a drink after work. We were sort of slow stepping it and getting to know each other, flirting with each other under this pretext of this goofy bet.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do this. Very quickly, we have another video where we talk about ways to touch a woman, and in that video we talk about thumb wrestling, right? Like you mentioned the idea of like thumb wrestling. So it's like, if she's like, well, what's your skill? Be like, the only skill I have is I'm the master at thumb wrestling. And she go, really? Be like, I will give you a head start and I will still beat you, right? Because then you're like sort of selling it, and then you better, right? But it's also really good to do. I can remember, no matter what you're doing, right? That competitive, there's something called competitive flirtatiousness. And back in college, I remember beer pong was always an amazing way to flirt with a girl, because you do that competitive, like, you try to like distractor.
I didn't even think of that, but that's a great one, yeah.
And I remember one date that I went on, one of my first dates was a bowling date with this girl, and she had suggested bowling, and I was kind of like, oh, bowling. But it was actually one of the best dates because we had this competitiveness, and I made, we went into a bet. Well, I bet you if I get a strike on this one, you're gonna give me a back massage, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you say, but it's this idea of the back and forth. And similar to the everything that we're gonna talk about, opinion, the scandalous opinion, all of this, it's really about getting to like this idea of you and her because it gives you a lot of material to work with, right?
Exactly.
So let's get into the next of the techniques that we're gonna go through.
Sure, so the next one is this idea of just simply riffing off of gender stereotypes. Now, we live in an age where there's a lot of talk about gender, but yet no matter how much people try to break down gender, there's always gonna be certain gender stereotypes. So if you just flip that on its head and you put her in a role where she's taking on a masculine stereotype, a lot of times there's just a lot of implicit humor built into that. One example, anytime a girl would say something, maybe she'd get like a little combative with me or something, or she'd get a little feisty, I would say, you man, like you're such a tough guy, I like that, I'm gonna make you my new bodyguard. It's number one, it's a good way to deflect a test that a woman might throw out. If she says something that might not necessarily be flattering, or she might be challenging you on something, a lot of guys don't know how to handle that, and a very easy way to handle it is say, hey, so feisty, I like that, I'm gonna make you my bodyguard. And you're also now putting her in this playful role, which most likely she's gonna laugh when you say that.
And yeah, and I can think Rob and I were recently together. He was with his girl, I was with my girl in Costa Rica. We were on a trip together. And one of the most funniest conversations we had was like making fun of our girls. For instance, like there was like a problem at the hotel, and we're like, you go take, like, you're a badass. Like, you guys are gonna scare them. Like,
which actually makes us sound like total pussies right now. But it's great.
We were kind of doing self-deprecating. Like, we'll walk up there and we'll be like, okay. And you girls, you'll walk up there and you'll get it done. Like,
they'll be afraid of you too.
And they were cracking up because it was just this funny sort of, role play of you guys are the tougher ones. And that's really what this is all about. The next one is actually really fun as well. Yeah,
so the next one is just, again, it's almost very similar to the ripping off gender stereotypes, but it's a playful accusation. Now, accusations are something that was like my bread and butter back in the day when I would approach women at bars, and even when I would like message women on Tinder, women I didn't know. See, a lot of guys are afraid to throw out playful accusation because they want to make it logical. I don't want to rock the boat too much. But the thing is that throwing out a playful accusation, it just sets up such a nice framework for you guys to flirt. And again, I emphasize playful accusation. You're not gonna just simply accuse her of something because that could go south very quickly. But the idea is like, if she's drinking a certain drink, you're like, oh shit, my mom warned me about women who drink Appletinis. I don't know about this. I don't know. And again, she's immediately going to jump into that, and she's probably going to respond with, well, like, why do you think, like, what did your mom tell you about girls who drink Appletinis? Now you set up this fun, flirty dynamic, and you can go back and forth with her, and she should probably tease you back. She probably will tease you back. But the idea is that you simply look at her, you find something about her, and then you assign a quality to that. Oh man, girls who wear hoop earrings, they are evil. I've had some experience with that. I know how you guys are. The more ridiculous it is, the better, because of the fact that she should know that you're joking around, but you are also setting up this fun dynamic where you and her can just really kind of get to know each other, showing your fun personalities rather than your logical business-like personalities, which happens when you follow this sort of more logical track.
Yeah. So Rob brought something up, but there's actually two ways. One way is to make it so absurd that it's obviously a joke. But if you actually, when you're out in a dating scene and you do kind of become really good at stereotyping, you can actually have fun with this, right? So like, for instance, I like Latina girls and I kind of know a lot of Latina stereotypes. So if I was talking to a Latina, I might go, listen, I know not to say that around a Latina because I'm gonna get a shoe thrown at my head, and like they know how they are, so they can laugh. So if you're really good at that, but you can do it in a joking around way, even if she's not that way, right? Even if it's like, I know, and you use another nationality or another thing that is the total opposite, you can still say that and it'll be funny. Either way, it works.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I also know exactly what you're talking about with what you never say to a Latina girl, or else you get something thrown at your head. Yeah. So again, but the idea is that you simply just make it fun. And again, you don't make this offensive at all. I just want to point that out for anyone who thinks that, you don't want to make, when we say stereotyping, it should absolutely be
funny. It's got to be funny. You never use a negative stereotype. it's something that you know everybody in the room is gonna laugh at. You're gonna laugh, she's gonna laugh. It's not like a negative thing.
Yes, exactly.
You wanna go through the next one?
Exactly, yeah. So the final one is simply what we call the sexy high five. Like the name implies, it's a high five that you make sexy, because when you high five her, most guys, when you high five your buddies, you just high five and slap palms, and that's that. But a sexy high five is actually when you high five, you then curl your fingers together. So you come in like this, and her natural response is when you curl your fingers down, she's gonna follow suit. And now you're gonna be essentially holding hands like this. And you can do a little shake, you can hold it there for a second, but then you wanna be the first one to break that contact. And what that essentially does is, she says something you like, oh, it's awesome, I like that too, I like that band, I like that movie. High five, or like, oh man.
You got good taste.
High five. You have good taste in men. High five. And she gives you a high five, you curl your fingers, she curls her fingers into yours. You have this, you emphasize it with like a shake, or you just let that moment hang there for like, just like a beat or two, maybe like a second, half a second, and then you pull your hand away. And what that does is that she gets this jolt of like this contact, and again, and we talked about it in other videos, where for whatever reason, hand contact is one of the most sensual, attractive forms of touching that you can do with the woman that you just met.
Yeah, so these 5 techniques, the opinion on something scandalous, making a bed, gender stereotypes, playful accusation, sexy high five that Rob just mentioned, they're all designed specifically to create a certain vibe. Like we said in the very beginning, that flirty, funny, touchy-feely vibe. And if that's something that doesn't come natural to you, we've got dozens and dozens of techniques just like this that we put together for you, because we know it didn't come naturally to me, it didn't come naturally to him. It took a lot of trial and error, experimenting with different things, watching guys that were doing these things and going, oh, that worked, and then going out. So we have a giant collection of them that we want you to download and test all of them out. We're gonna put a link below so that you can check them out if this is something that you need help with. If you like this video, if you wanna see more videos like this, let us know by clicking like, subscribing to our channel, and leaving us a comment on what you wanna see us cover in the future. Thank you for watching.